My name's Mary Brunson, and I was a juror in the Orange Taylor case.
Did you believe that Taylor was guilty?
I was convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty.
And were there key factors in your feeling that way?
I think the scientific evidence was a really strong factor to me personally. I felt that just the DNA and the fibers alone really gave me a strong conviction that he was guilty, as well as the circumstantial evidence really connected all the dots for me, really put it together and made me believe that he was guilty.
How did the jury vote?
Initially we took a vote just to see where we stood, and then we just went over evidence for 2 days and argued and discussed different points and tried to come to a decision, but we're unable to.
What was the key factor in your failing to reach a verdict, you think?
I really wanted us to come to some sort of decision on any of the counts, just to give closure to the family, to both of the families. Really, we were all left with a kind of empty feeling of nothing was really resolved, and we all were really upset that we weren't able to come to a verdict. I think what most of the jurors had, what we debated most about was there was a timeline of when he could have been in the room, and some of the jurors felt that he could have perhaps been there after she was dead, so therefore she did not kill her. And that was really what we debated, whether he killed her, whether he was possibly there in the time frame that they gave us to have killed her, which really did it for some of the jurors. If they couldn't put him there in the timeline that he couldn't have possibly killed her, and then they couldn't come to the charge of murder or even manslaughter. Initially, the jurors, I thought most of the jurors had decided not to talk to the media after our verdict, but one of the jurors, Loretta, decided to talk to the media, and which is understandable. She had her own opinion and her own reasons for letting the public know that she was strongly not guilty. But I felt that some of the statements she made were incorrect, and that the public needed to know that the majority of the jury thought he was guilty, and that the public and the family, everyone should know that there's a few people holding out, but that most of us were convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty. I would say for the felony murder, there was maybe 5 or 6 that were for felony murder, 2 or 3 that were debating it and whether we should go down to second degree or manslaughter, but definitely 2 jurors that were strongly against and would never go to murder. One juror was thinking maybe manslaughter, but again, there was the 2 that absolutely wouldn't come to second degree or first degree felony murder. We couldn't come to any agreement on the larceny or the home invasion. There was only one person holding out on the larceny, and I think 2 holding out on the home invasion. But and as to the assault with intent to commit sexual conduct, I think it was maybe it was 9-3 or 10-2. One important thing that really factored into our decision was on Friday, the last day of court, we were supposed to hear an hour-and-a-half long interview with Orange Taylor, and we're not allowed to hear it, which was a concern to us. And also that we were under the assumption that the defendant's attorney was going to call several witnesses, maybe along with Orange Taylor, we weren't quite sure, but that he arrested and didn't bring any witnesses up, didn't bring Orange Taylor up, and that was a really concern. It was a concern to us because it was it was less information we were given, less testimony and evidence, and that really factored into our decision at the end. We spent 4.5 days in court, hearing testimony and evidence, and then 3 days of deliberation, and it was really hard for all of us, just because it was a really difficult decision. It was an important one to make, and at the end, I think we all kind of felt let down that we couldn't give some closure to the situation. We couldn't come to any sort of verdict, and we all just were upset about it. But hopefully next time around they'll be able to come to some sort of verdict, and everyone can have closure of this situation.